Hello everyone and welcome to Victoria's Cantina. Today we're having a comparison of the Mattel Movie Master 6-inch scale Bat Pod with the Medicom MAFEX 6-inch scale Bat Pod from the Dark Knight Trilogy. Okay, you guys, so the Bat Pod is one of the absolute coolest tools in Batman's arsenal of weapons and vehicles. I think it was a very inventive vehicle, even if not completely realistic. It's still a pretty cool thing, and I really like the way that they utilized it in both The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. Back around 2008, 2009, Mattel did their 6-inch scale Bat Pod for their Movie Masters line of the Dark Knight figures, and it was a Target exclusive, retailed at $20, and was kind of hard to find from what I understand, but some places did clearance them out. A few years later, when The Dark Knight Rises came out, everybody wanted a Bat Pod. Suddenly they were nowhere to be found, and aftermarket prices on them were around $80 to $100. Last year, MAFEX did their own version of their 6-inch scale Bat Pod from the Dark Knight Trilogy, and they're both pretty different when you look at them next to each other. MAFEX is a little bit smaller, has different dimensions overall, but they're both pretty nice for the most part. And the goal of this video is to compare them because, surprisingly, ain't no one else done a comparison of these two vehicles. And I really want to do that because, as you may know from my last video, the MAFEX version retails at $100, which is a ridiculously insane price. And if this video helps somebody to take a look at the Mattel version and say, hey, right now in the secondary market, that's going for 40 to 50 bucks, less than half the cost of the MAFEX version, then, maybe it's more cost effective to go this route. So let's get right down to it. I'm going to go and show you here the Mattel Bat Pod. And I mean, overall, it looks nice. Ever since I got this one, I've always thought that it has a very nice aesthetic to it. It looks quite a bit like the Bat Pod from the film. Has a pretty nice finish. The whole vehicle is plastic. It's 100% plastic. The tires are nice and wide. They have a little bit of dirt on them, as you can see. That's just the way they painted them. And the tires are just plastic. You can kind of just squish them like that. It feels like there's a wheel inside as well. But I mean, overall, it looks good. Has a little bit of a metallic sort of look to the paint scheme. And for the most part, I am pretty pleased with what they did here, especially if you were able to get this at the $20 price point. I think that's a steal. I think that's a heck of a deal for something like this. The execution, for a Mattel vehicle at that price point is perfect, I would say. It's just what you would expect for it to be. And there's no gimmicks here, no extra features, no launching missiles, nothing like that. It's just a very nice, solid looking Bat Pod. Of course, the Mattel Bat Pod was designed for the Mattel Movie Master 6-inch Batman figure, but it was not a very good fit for it at all, since that Batman figure could not look up. So I've gotten my MAFEX Batman here, which has a really nice aesthetic to it, far more so than the Mattel version. And as you can see, it fits on there very nicely. Very, very nice fit. He grips onto the handlebars very easily, right there, because there's not a lot of wiring or anything going on like the MAFEX version. And I just think that it's a very nice aesthetic. I think it looks very, very cool, very satisfactory. And you can get his feet onto the pedals, again, his hands onto the handlebars. I think it's a really nice look. Again, no gimmicks here. It's a completely plastic vehicle. There's nothing extra going on, but it is fairly nicely detailed. Again, for a $20 item, which is what it would have retailed for, I think that the paint is very nicely done. It's got some nice weathering to it. And you can see the brake pads back here. Just really nicely detailed overall. The guns look very nice, very sturdy. This is all very stiff and rigid plastic, as is the whole vehicle, really. I mean, the handlebars maybe are a little bit soft, but that's okay. And again, the figure on there looks very nice. And just pull them off just like that. Oop, somebody lost their head. And I think it just looks really good. It serves its purpose. If you just want a simple Bat Pod, again, last I checked, these are going for around $40, $50 brand new. If you get them loose, you can get them a little cheaper. I think that's still a pretty good deal for what you're getting here. In my last video, we took a look at the MAFEX Bat Pod, and here it is. It looks good. I think that it's a little bit more movie accurate in terms of the proportions. It's a little bit less bulky. It's a little more streamlined, and I just think it looks overall a little bit more realistic. very nice proportions to it. And I just think it looks great. Again, this costs $100 is what the MSRP on this is. And I really don't think that it's worth $100. That's just really, really steep. So it looks good. And I guess if aesthetics are the most important thing to you, then, you know, you might prefer the MAFEX version. But, you know, like with the Mattel one, there is no gimmicks here at all. It's just a simple piece of plastic with rubber tires. And they're very nice tires, I might add. They look very realistic. They feel great in my hand. And the aesthetics are just very nice here. Again, very nice proportions. And the only thing gimmicky about it, and this is actually movie accurate, so I don't really consider it a gimmick, is that you can connect the EMP rifle right there on the side, which you can't do, of course, on the Mattel version. I think that looks really nice. And as far as weight goes, I think they're about the same, actually. Yeah, they're probably, maybe the Mattel one's just slightly heavier since it's a little bulkier. But, of course, if we get our Batman figure and get him on there, it's also a very nice aesthetic. I think that the Batman looks really cool. And to me, this just looks a little bit more movie accurate overall. The proportions are really good. You can see that he's seated in there just as nicely as he is on the Mattel one, but this probably looks a little bit better since it's proportioned a little more nicely. Of course, the center of gravity on this one simply isn't as good. You see, it's very wobbly, and ultimately it does kind of return to the center. Well, sort of return to the center, but it looks good. It looks good, and I got to give it that. I think aesthetically speaking, this looks a little bit better than the Mattel version. Again, this is $100, so, I mean, just kind of looking at them together, I don't know, what do you think? $20 versus $100 MSRP. I think it's a no-brainer, even though it may not be quite as movie accurate in terms of scale and proportion. I mean, you really can't go wrong with the Mattel one. In terms of what they cost nowadays, if you get lucky, you can, like me, you can get this one for around $71. That's what I paid for it. So you can probably get it around there. The Mattel one on secondary market goes for $40, $50. I think that's a pretty good deal for the Mattel version, especially if you can get it brand new at $40. That's a heck of a deal. But it's just not as accurate to the film. So, I mean, if aesthetics are really your thing and you're really wanting to have the most movie accurate Bat Pod available to you and you don't mind paying a little bit more, then I would say, hey, go with the MAFEX version. It's got the aesthetics. I like that the metallic bits on it look a little bit nicer than the Mattel version. And the Mattel one is pretty good for the price. I really like the MAFEX version in terms of scale and in terms of aesthetic, but I really don't think it's worth $100. It's certainly not even worth $70. I would say maybe $40, $50 at the absolute most would be the best I would go on that. Again, $40, I would say go for it. You know, if it comes between the two. It's still a really nice looking piece. I think that, I mean, it certainly looks like the Bat Pod from The Dark Knight. And in that regard, I think it's a really good way to go. If you just want a simple Bat Pod to put your figures on and you don't need the most fancy looking thing, then this will certainly do the trick. I like it quite a bit. I'm pretty happy with it. And, you know, between the two, I don't know. I don't know that I need to keep both of them, but I do like the aesthetic of the MAFEX. I just don't feel that it's worth the price that they're asking. So if given the choice, I would say that the Mattel is probably a little bit better of a way to go. Ultimately, this is going to be up to you. If you don't mind it being a little bit more bulky and a little bit less movie accurate, then yeah, go with the Mattel one. I think it's perfectly adequate. It'll suit your needs. You can get your Batman figure and just kind of get him on here. And I think it looks great. I think it looks great. I would recommend anyone who doesn't want to spend an arm and a leg for a Bat Pod in the 6-inch scale to go this route, because I think it looks really good and, you know, certainly does the trick. So that's really cool. But again, if you're a more serious collector and you're a little more serious about aesthetics, go with the MAFEX version. Considering that you're not going to mind paying $100 for it or whatever you're going to be able to get it for. I think it's got the overall best aesthetic, but again, it is a little bit wobbly. It is a little bit fragile feeling. So I probably wouldn't, you know, keep this where your kids are going to get it. I don't think it's quite as durable as the Mattel version. But if you just want to have it like on a shelf or something, that does look pretty good. So again, ultimately, this is going to be up to you. Personally, I think that the Mattel one, for what they were asking for it when it was brand new, and what they're asking for the MAFEX version, brand new, it's just a no-brainer here. I think the Mattel one is a little bit superior in terms of getting a bargain and, you know, getting your bang for your buck, getting something that's going to serve its purpose. So again, I wouldn't say one's better than the other, but, you know, you have that decision to make for yourself in terms of what your own personal needs are. All right, my friends, if you enjoyed this video, then I do encourage you to please like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the Mattel Bat Pod versus the MAFEX Bat Pod, which one you think is superior for the asking price, and which one you would go with if you were considering purchasing one of the two. Be sure and follow me on Facebook and Twitter for the latest collecting news and updates. And as always, I do want to thank you for watching Victoria's Cantina. Till next time, my friends, bye-bye.